Welcome in. It is the overreaction Super Bowl Monday, and Shane's missing, so that means only one thing. Obviously, the Steelers didn't win because that's tradition that he has going with us. It's always me and Caitlin left when the Steelers don't win a game, so they didn't win the Super Bowl this year. So Shane decided to take a hiatus, an early vacation, we'll say.
I guess, but I mean, we'll talk about it probably later. We get brought up, but like they did cut Trubisky today, so I feel like he does feel like they won something, right?
Yeah, it's a small victory, right? So
That's right. That's right.
it also means that they are sticking with Kenny Pickett, I guess. I can't believe this is how we're starting off our Super Bowl show.
Yeah, well, he's not here, so we've got to do some talking for him, right? We usually let him have that spotlight, but yeah, maybe sticking with Kenny Pickett. But I don't know if we mentioned this. I think Shane made a mention on the show, and we talked about it briefly. But maybe the chance of Ryan Tannehill landing in Pittsburgh because of the Arthur Smith hiring. Wouldn't he be pissed about that?
Oh, I didn't see that, so I was just kind of letting it be. But no one cares about the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I don't even know how that even started. I made a joke about them losing, and we just wasted a minute of time. But we had a crazy football game last night. Really pretty much a slow starting first half. But I was still more or less impressed with just the way the teams figured out at halftime. And I honestly believe that long halftime changed the whole game for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, that first half, it's funny how we say that it was a lull game, but 15 years ago, we'd be talking about how great of a nail biter that first half was. But we're so spoiled with offense now that we're going to have a 20-point half for each team. We're kind of bored with it, right? But, it was really uncanny that CMC, a guy who doesn't fumble the ball too often, was the first person to lay it on the ground, right?
And yeah, so I know I didn't take that bet. I'll tell you that much because I thought CMC was going to be the MVP. That was my pick. And very unlike CMC, we'll say. Like he's had 3 fumbles this quarter. It was only his second lost fumble. Like he was my first pick in fantasy football, so I was on his train the whole year. Mm-hmm. But I really want to know like how much of that is nerves, how much of that is the routine is so thrown off.
Yeah.
Like even as football fans, I don't know about you, but like 4 o'clock, I'm like, man, like I'm tired.
Well, I was actually going to bring that up, Chad. I thought this Super Bowl is made for Chad and his timeline because we're home getting ready for bed by 10 o'clock. Oh, overtime. Got to run a little bit past 10 o'clock there, but man, it was made for you.
Yeah, so I get to work today and everybody's like, man, you all right? And I was like, I'm tired. They're like, oh, did you have a rough night? And I was like, I had 2 beers. I stopped drinking at halftime. I literally chugged like 2 liters of water, had full intention of going to the gym this morning. Man, I was so emotionally and mentally drained by the end of this football game, which means it turned out to be a phenomenal football game.
Yeah.
Like I was fully invested on the edge of my couch. I was excited for this game, especially as it started getting deeper and deeper into it. And then it went to overtime, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know the rules. I didn't know that was a new thing.
You too,
Kyle Shanahan is alone. The 49ers are not alone. My wife's like, what happens? And I explained all the rules, and I explained them all wrong. So I am with the San Francisco 49ers on what the circumstances were. Regardless, I still didn't understand why they took the ball second. I mean, first, I think even still, like, you want to know what the other team's going to do and kind of the situation you're in. Like, we can dive right down into that anytime. But, yeah, I was fully invested. Like, I went to bed, like, my brain was still going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm lying in bed, staring up at the ceiling. And, like, I'm going to make this very clear because I hate these people, but I'm going to be that person right now. Kyle Shanahan knows significantly more about football than I do. But I'm really questioning his judgment right now.
Yep.
And mostly because of his track record. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan can have a job after this.
So you brought that up before, and there was a post on Reddit today that was talking about would it surprise anybody if the Niners went to the well of quarterbacks that they seem to always do and get some level of competition for Purdy? And this was obviously a San Francisco fan that was posting this. And the first comment that I had back to it was, when does the organization start doing a little bit of soul searching in the mirror and maybe the coach isn't it? Now, I got blasted right away by that same poster saying, like, this guy has gone to 4 NFC championships and 2 Super Bowls. Like, you're not going to find a better coach than that. Now, I did counter, and in the same paragraph, I also made sure I bit my bullet on here because I said, Andy Reid went to 4 straight NFC championships in 5 total and a Super Bowl, and he got canned. Now, he did find success at the next team. We're not going to say he didn't, and he wasn't like he wasn't successful when Alex Smith was there. He does have the GOAT now. I mean, I think we're able to.
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, so he has the GOAT, so he certainly has been able to be successful in that regard. Not everybody's gonna be able to find a generational talent or GOAT type quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. And again, you don't want to be that franchise that looks at Kyle Shanahan going to the next place and where he's going to be successful. The thing is that I don't think that he's not going to be successful. It's just that you've had 3 cracks at it now, right? As one as an OC, 2 as a head coach, one that your offense completely kind of fell apart in the championship game there with a 28-3 game. Even though I mentioned that it wasn't all their fault, you guys were up 28-3, and it certainly didn't end like you guys got another 28 points, right? You didn't, and then you got these 2 teams. This is a very stacked team, arguably on paper the best team in the NFL, the Niners, right? Like,
I agree, yeah.
Top to bottom, they are the most stacked team, and you still couldn't get it done against an offense that wasn't its peak performance all year long. Certainly had Patrick Mahomes, and we just talked about that. The defense is fantastic. I mean, it was an elite defense, but you still couldn't get it done with the best talent on paper in the league. So,
you wonder who they remind me of? The 2002 Buccaneers. Tony Dungy was there.
Yep.
NFC Championship. NFC couldn't win. The team didn't change. John Gruden came and changed the attitude. I like San Francisco, like they're already opening up as the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think they have all the pieces to do it, but maybe Kyle Shanahan's not the right guy for them. Maybe he's not then like Brock Purdy, like he didn't play horrible, he didn't play great.
Yeah.
But I think that Kyle Shanahan put him in position to fail. When they came out and got that interception to start the second half, the game should have been over.
The power went out where I was when that happened, where at the house party I was at. So we got the power back on when the Chiefs got the ball back, and I was like, "What the hell happened?" It was like 4.5 minutes tops, and you guys got the ball back already?
Yeah, 3 and out, 3 straight passes. They went 3 and out 3 times in a row, and he went 0 for 8. Or sorry, 0 for 9. And they lost 1 yard.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, that shows you that you lost the football game. You have the best player in the whole league. He should have been the MVP. That's a conversation for later. But you have CMC there. And I understand he's banged up, but Elijah Mitchell is a phenomenal running back as well.
Yeah,
with that offensive line,
did he have last night? Like 3? Like I think I barely even
saw him. He had 3, but the one got called back, so I think he had 2 on paper. You can run the football with any running back you've ever put back there. So I don't understand why this is when you stopped. You had a Deebo Samuel who's banged up and was not being the Deebo that he's been. He's got a separated shoulder. I don't know what happened to his leg at one point when he's curled over.
Yeah, his hammy, they said it was.
So he's not moving the same way. Brandon Ayuk could not get separation. George Kittle was non-existent pretty much in the passing game. So right away, like you have to find ways to get the ball to CMC, and leaving your quarterback in empty sets in the backfield when Steve Spagnuolo, is going to send heat 24/7.
Yeah.
This isn't so much the 49ers lost this game. I truly believe that Kyle Shanahan lost this football game. He got outsmarted by defensive coordinator, and he got outsmarted by Andy Reid.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. I'm not willing to say that the Niners lost. Like, they didn't lose the game because of Purdy. They certainly weren't winning the game because of Purdy. They definitely needed to slow it down in the second half. The second half, like for both teams, was just vastly different. Yeah. And it's just the tale of what's been for Shanahan. As I'm coming back to, again, you can't seem to keep a lead or keep your momentum going in the second half of these bigger games for some reason. Even like the Detroit game, like, Purdy did not have a very clean game. That is your audition to come to this big game right here. And outside of the first couple of drives, he wasn't really Purdy until like maybe the third quarter again, end of the third quarter.
Yeah, I think that big layoff is kind of what threw them off. The momentum was gone, and that I have a big issue with this halftime show because um, you see it in every year. Teams that should be out of the game and be done, this 1 hour break changes everything for them. Like it's like you're starting a whole new game. So one possession literally means nothing. And maybe that's where the issue is that he doesn't know how to make those adjustments because you just can't stay status quo. Like Kyle Shanahan scripts his plays. We all know he does. He doesn't hide it and lie. Why aren't you scripting your second half, man? Like you had an hour to break down what just happened in the first half and how to go forward. And you made no adjustments. You actually did the opposite and you just stayed status quo. And Steve Spagnuolo picked you apart. And also, massive hat off to Trent McDuffie and Snead. They shut
Hopefully a
down
future
those
Titan
guys.
there in Snead.
All right, well, hopefully for you. But those two guys made Debo and Ayuk look mediocre.
Well, between them and the D line getting in Purdy's face, Chris Jones was in the backfield just about every time he can get the opportunity. Kalafkas or whatever, have you say his last name? Fantastic game for him, even with hurt his finger again in the third quarter, but still came back after a single play. That defense was just ready to play, but also kind of like I don't think Chris Jones is sticking around. Like that was a contract looking game for him, right? And it felt like the defense was trying to rally around him and get him this, even with Andy Reid's celebration with Chris Jones there. But I want to come back to something there. You mentioned you didn't know the overtime rules, and then you mentioned there about that you had the hour-long game break there where you couldn't figure something out. And bringing back again Kyle Shanahan, the fact that you had players on your team, professional NFL players making millions of dollars in the final game of the year, that did not know the overtime rules when you had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. I understand that there are a lot of T's to be crossed and I's to be dotted when you were game planning for the Kansas City Chiefs. I certainly get that. How is this not a piece of conversation, of topic for you that, hey, these are the new rules just in case, just as a one-off, right? Like I can think of everyday jobs that we have where we every once in a while we'll have a one-off. Hey guys, don't forget about this little piece of information that you need to know, kind of thing. Between that and that hour-long game plan that you mentioned, that was not really the proper adjustments, where we see coaches that make adjustments in 20-minute half times throughout the regular season.
They make them on the fly on the sidelines, man.
Well, yeah, and then there's that. You got these tablets. You go and sit with your quarterback, and it seems like some teams, they'll come out with completely different offensive scheme the following drive because they just realize after 4 or 5 attempts, this is just not working, right? And yet here you had an hour long, but you could basically have a media session with yourself and your quarterbacks and your wide receivers, and nothing got better for you. I just don't understand this offensive group. Now, and there's one other thing too. McVay's dealt with it as well. Now, it seems like he, through the year, got stronger and kind of figured out his staff again and where they're strong and where they're not. But, this is a team that's also been picked apart assistant coach wise. Every little bit, the San Francisco 49ers, they've been successful. And unfortunately, that's going to mean you are going to lose people in power, whether it's in your front office or whether it's going to be in your coaching tree, that are gone. And now you're left with bare bones and just Kyle. No, I should say bare bones. They've got good coaches there, but they've got Kyle Shanahan that's leading the horde when he was able to lean on all these other guys that have got jobs and been successful in other places. And this is where you kind of see, I get it, went to the Super Bowl, but McVay, I think, kind of has that elevation, I think, over Shanahan, where they don't have the talent that the Niners have had over the years. But the Super Bowl run, but he still pulls talent out. Like this past year, he got way more wins in LA than we thought he was going to get. Like this was a rebuild year for LA, we thought.
Yeah, right. So that kind of just brings it back to I think that is the problem in San Francisco. And I don't know who you bring in, to be honest. So I'm not going to sit here and say fire him tomorrow. But next year is Brock Purdy's contract. Last year's contract.
Is it next year or does he have 2 years?
No, he has 1 year. And they have to extend him for a 4.
They have to extend. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
So to me, it's like, all right, man. Him and John Lynch love each other. They're best friends. They're attached to the hip. He's going to give him his chance. But I think it literally comes down to you have 1 year to figure this out, man. We can't keep losing because San Francisco is really good right now because you're not paying your quarterback. We have to make that very clear.
And they still got Chase Young they got to pay here, right?
Yeah, you're not paying the most important piece of your team. On any team, the quarterback's the most important piece. You're not paying him yet. And I don't know what number he's going to come in at. Even if he comes in at 30 million, which is a steal for a starting quarterback, that is a lot more than 700,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it just comes down to they have to figure out what they want to do and who they want to be there with them. I don't want to take away from anything the Kansas City Chiefs did. I want to make that very clear also, because they played a phenomenal football game, top to bottom. Then we said Spags balled out on defense, calling all the right plays, putting his guys in position to win.
Pacheco owned his mistake and marched to the sidelines to apologize to everybody. I love that.
So I'm going to ask you a question, though, because that's what we're here for. What do you think of Travis Kelce's over-publicized reaction? Because I don't have an issue with it one bit at all.
So the thing is that we don't see it often from players that aren't quarterbacks, right? Mm-hmm. Or diva wide receivers. He is a diva tight end, but at the same token, has been known, outside of maybe a few years of his career, has been known to not be a good run blocking tight end, especially this late in the year when we're getting to the red zone where, hey, Kelce, we don't necessarily, we're going to get inside of 20 yards and then you become very important to us. And I need you as full of energy as you possibly can be. On this running play that we're going to get 6 or 7 that gets us into that spot potentially, take your your break here and get your wind, right? But I'll be very honest when I say he shouldn't have gone to Andy Reid that way. Of all the coaches, there's certain coaches that have earned the right. That doesn't matter if you're Travis Kelce or you're, I'm trying to think of Justin Jefferson. You go to your positional coach or to your OC and you have that conversation and you let that get coached up. To go to him like that, as aggressive as he was, when he was a dud that first half. It wasn't as if, it wasn't as if San Francisco was doing a fantastic job in covering him, more or less, than he wasn't running the best routes and he wasn't getting separation from his defenders. So for you to go and start yelling at your nearly 70-year-old coach, or however old he is at this point, a guy that has the biggest heart that everybody seems to love on the biggest stage like that, sure, you're a competitor, man, but I don't know. There's just certain people that shouldn't have gotten it.
So I'm going to be the complete opposite. I am 100% for it. I understand why he was frustrated. If I'm who I think I am, and I'm that player, and the guy that I got taken out for blows his fucking block, I'm going to be heated. Why am I coming off the field? Number 2, Travis Kelce obviously knows that him and Andy Reid can have that relationship. That he can go and do that. I'm also going to say, and I saw AJ Brown tweet about this, just because
that wasn't AJ, it was a burner.
Whatever. I'm going to use my example anyways, because he's been known to say some things on Twitter. It also shows the relationship that Andy Reid and Travis Kelce have with each other, because there's no way that another coach will allow that to happen. They didn't respect that player. It didn't even phase Andy Reid. That's who Travis Kelce is to him. He knows he gets hot. He knows he gets in. And you know what? He had the best Travis Kelce in the second half after that play happened, after that freak out. So maybe Andy Reid played into it. I don't know. But he knew what to do to get the best out of his player. And it got Travis Kelce fired up. And that guy was a different person in the second half. And it shows the relationship they have, that it didn't change nothing for the game plan for them. They stayed. And Travis Kelce didn't come to the game really after that. And when the game was on the line, who got the ball?
Mecole Hardman.
Stop it. Yeah, do you know why? Because that save, he had to make a life choice.
Yeah.
He had to make a choice. Do I go to the flats or do I take Travis Kelce? He took the right call.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't have an issue with it. I think because of who it is, and he's an all-pro year in and year out. He's a Pro Bowl. He's a leader in that locker room. Every single player in that locker room respects him, obviously. Because even when it all went down, you see McKinnon just come up, kind of grab him and say, all right, man, come this way. And he didn't keep going. He walked away. It wasn't like he threw McKinnon off to the side. He easily could have thrown McKinnon off to the side. He's got 75 pounds on him. But he didn't. He walked away. So he said his piece, got his piece out, and then he kept on going.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, it felt like you could have saved it for the halftime. It was only a few minutes away anyway, right? So anyway, halftime show. You were talking about the halftime show. What were your thoughts?
Well, like the actual show, or just the fact that I don't enjoy the halftime shows.
Yeah. Well, hey, we brought it up. So, what were your thoughts of the halftime show? That I mean, now Usher is our generation.
Um, I want to know if he's like physically okay because that guy was sweating.
Yeah. Well, he was winded, right? I mean, he was one of the few, dancers that are still around that sing and dance at the same time. I think it was a great show. I would have, the Luda at the end was it certainly was the cherry on top of the ice cream for me, having the yeah at the very end, because like that was probably the biggest song of our high school years. I know you're a year older than me, but like that was like the banger at every house party back when we were kids.
No, I enjoyed the show. I'm just saying I don't love halftime shows because I think they ruin the actual football game. Like I want that performance before the game starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Did you
Um,
uh did you see the pole dancer when Luda was coming and rapping that fell behind him?
yeah.
Just dropped.
Did you see the one dancer just get launched?
No, I missed
Yeah.
that too.
I don't know if anyone's ever caught that person. They could just be in the abyss. Like remember when Lady Gaga jumped out the stage and like where'd she go? Like
Yeah.
this person just flew across the screen that no one knows where this person went. The camera never got the landing.
Speaking of nobody ever knows where it went, how stupid was it at the beginning of the game when they showed the fireworks going off outside of the stadium on a dome? You can't even see them, or the jets that fly up over top that you probably couldn't even hear inside of the stadium. It's I get it, it's all for TV, I guess, but the fireworks were so corny. Like, what was the point?
All I know is that I was more confused. Like, isn't Las Vegas like a no-fly zone?
Is it all because of Area 51? Yeah.
But yeah, back to the like the halftime show. The fact that they could dance on grass like that blew my mind.
Yeah.
That was
It
like the
was
first thing I said. I was like, man, that guy, he's sliding across grass.
Man, there was a lot of people that were surprised at the house gathering I was at last night that was real grass. A lot of people didn't know that Vegas grows it outdoors and wheels it in like that. So they're
Yeah,
not because what happened was when Drake Greenlaw blew his Achilles out, somebody made a comment, "Oh, there's the turf getting somebody else at the Super Bowl." Oh, that's grass, man.
that's all
That's
you can
not
tell.
turf.
It's chewed up.
Yeah, and at the same time, poor guy Dre Greenlaw, one of the best linebackers on that team, certainly hurt their defense with him being lost. But we've talked about this 100 times. When you blow your Achilles or you blow your knee out in such a normal activity, like just getting up off the ground and getting ready to run like you would do in a normal sprint, it was gone. Something happened
I want to
days
make it
ago,
very
weeks
clear.
ago.
You would not tear your Achilles. You are nowhere near fast or explosive enough to do that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that because it's
I'm not
often a
either.
worry of mine playing softball, Chad, that I'm going to blow a knee or blow my Achilles
You might blow a
somehow,
knee,
some
change
way.
in direction, but you are not tearing an Achilles. You do not have that first step.
I guess what we are we are you faster than me, Chad?
No, I'm not doing it either. I'm making it very clear.
I
Civilians
thought
like
we were
you
gonna
and
have a
I are
40-yard dash here.
civilians like you and I are not tearing Achilles.
I love hearing that. Chad, keep saying that because like I said, I have big worries when my old body plays any type of sport that something bad is gonna happen like that. So
Yeah, like no, I was like your knee. You might blow a knee changing directions because that's gonna happen. But I'd rather blow a knee than rip an Achilles. I'll make that very clear.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no,
Oof.
people like you and I do not have to worry about that. But yeah, according to Joe, there I'd be sweating like Buff Bagwell and Usher there too, dancing. Is what he's telling me.
Buff Bagwell.
Well,
I literally just watched or read like an article the other day that was talking about wrestlers that we'll never see in WWF again, and Buff Bagwell was number 8. I don't know
did he
whatever
ever
happened to that
did
guy.
he ever move over?
No, he did move over. He did one fight, and then they cut up his contract, and he went into rehab, and nobody ever saw him since.
Hmm.
So, yeah, yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Did you injure anything? Yep, my nose. um, where
Were you watching the American feed or were you watching the Canadian feed? Did you get to see some commercials?
I watched the American feed.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So did you have any commercials that you liked?
Man, the Dunkin' Donuts one with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Tom
So
Brady,
good,
so good.
so good, man.
Also, do you know what Timu is? Have you heard of this
Okay,
thing?
so this is what I don't understand how places like AliExpress, which was a knockoff place for us years ago, and then Timu, which when it came out was again a knockoff place to get fake Jordans and shit. They're on doing these big Super Bowl ads.
It told me I could shop like a billionaire. Well, like I feel like pricing's gonna go up. They had a commercial every quarter.
Yeah, yeah,
They were
seriously.
$2 million for 30 seconds. Shop like
Don't
a billionaire.
don't shop out there like a billionaire. And I'm pretty sure like AliExpress might even have naming rights to a basketball arena or something here in North America. Just incredible that again it's a knockoff website that somehow got rights. It's incredible.
But yeah, no, I started laughing like, well, they must be doing well for themselves. It's like, yeah, they run for every quarter. But that one was really good. The Michael Sarah one was pretty good. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah, with the face cream one or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. The Paramount ones weren't too bad either. As a parent, they were kind of fun having those the little Peppa Pig bacon. We need this. We need bacon now, and Peppa's like, oh, that was pretty jokes.
And yeah, there's a lot of movie previews which I liked.
Yeah, wasn't a little. Yeah, you're right. There was about five or six trailers. New Planet of the Apes, bro. I'm hyped for that.
Oh, that looks so good.
Oh yeah,
I saw that one. I saw that in theaters. And me and Ash went to a movie a couple of weeks ago. They showed that one. I was like, oh, I got to see that one. And the new Deadpool.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, that's why Blake Lively had to have been there, right? She was just doing some mini advertising for.
Did you see his tweet
about that? Where's my wife?
If I didn't see my wife.
Yeah, that was so good, man.
No, yes, I know. Yeah, no, the Joseph with the Star Trek dude was in one. Like there was a great whole bunch of them that were awesome.
Yeah, Jean-Luc Picard when he was for the new show he's doing, right? What was I going to say there? So at the end, it doesn't look like Andy Reid. You had mentioned Travis Kelce, you maybe going to get cut or whatever. Kelce certainly sounds like he's going for 3, right? And, it was weird when Andy Reid waved away the media at the beginning of the end of the game, and he said, he's going to wait until he gets up to the stand. I turned to Cindy and I said, yo, I think Shane's right. He might be doing an announcement right now. He didn't want to talk to the media first, but no, it looks like he's pretty amped. He's going to be doing round 3 too.
I don't think you can walk away now.
Well, you said it. Like, how do you walk away when your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes and you're one of the most offensively gifted guru coaches of all time? Like, he's easily in the top 5 for just straight offensive-minded coaches, right?
100%. And, like, you have the best quarterback probably arguably ever now. I kept seeing Tom Brady was coming out of retirement.
Yeah? Is that what you read?
So I keep seeing all these things popping up. He's like, you can't catch me, so he has to come back out.
But yeah, those stats for the postseason right now, in comparative to what Tom's were, like I understand we're playing a different game. It's a pass-heavy game. He's double the touchdowns and like half of the interceptions. It's like it doesn't make sense, right? Like this is clearly we're so spoiled that we're going to get this guy. I said it last night, guys. Soak this all in because we said it with Tom Brady. We're probably never going to have another one. We're probably never going to have another one like Patrick Mahomes again, right?
I wouldn't. Well, listen, but now I'm really curious. Like, are him and Andy Reid like a package deal?
They retire together in 10 years?
No. I mean, like, if Andy leaves, like, I think Patrick Mahomes still going to be the best quarterback in the NFL, yes. But are we going to see the greatness that we're seeing?
Oh, I think so. I understand. Like, I think that at this point, that between the confidence and the looks he's had to see over his short time already in the NFL, the various defenses that have had to go against him, I have no inclination that if Andy Reid were to leave, that anything would be any different than when we saw Tom Brady leave New England to go to Tampa Bay. Nothing would be different.
Joe asked about the Kansas City defense. Joe got to the show late. That's what we talked about the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, and the defense balled out. And like I said, I don't think that Jones is going to return. I think that he made a point with the last holdout now. He got his money. You can't burn the team again with another holdout. They just don't have enough money to go around. And like, listen, this guy's going to get paid somewhere. Chicago is just begging for a defensive tackle to eat up and help their defense out. They've got a decent young secondary there. They can afford to give him the money. Does he want to go to Chicago? I don't know. It's still a cold state, so he's used to it anyway. But like, I just don't see Jones sticking around now.
You ain't going to Chicago. No one's going to Chicago.
Man, that GM in Chicago, man, has got the way he connects with the players that come through there, like the reports that you hear, the free agent visits that were last year. Because of course, now that we've got so much money in Tennessee, right? Like I'm stacking who am I up against? Who's going to be competing with me for the top end free in Chicago? Obviously, being the number 1 cap space in the league. I'm reading about it, and like, man, he just gets his players. Like he understands them. It's just Chicago, and it's a shitty stadium, and it's a shitty field, and it's just a crappy area to live in the winter. In the summer, it's not too bad, but in the winter, it sucks. So I don't know. Don't be surprised if Chicago makes a push, especially if they do what everybody says they might do and trade out Justin Fields for Caleb Williams.
They're not doing that.
We also have Josh Rosen.
Yeah, well, Josh, no one's making that mistake again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for the day that Caleb Williams doesn't get drafted first overall. I'm gonna be so happy.
Man, if he
Like they're
doesn't go
not.
first overall, though, it's got to be a wideout or a tackle. And I just don't see a left tackle going that high. And there's just not an edge rusher that's jumping off the page at me. Like, is there somebody you know that I should be looking for, edge rusher wise?
No, I'm just saying I don't think it's Caleb Williams. I just don't think it's. I honestly just believe they are gonna probably go Marvin Harrison because he is the
Rip
number one
my
receiver.
heart out fast, eh? Holy shit, Chad. You didn't even wait to get to that one.
I do think they are gonna take him, and I think they're gonna go tackle. Like they have to. They have too many issues to not address those two things. I don't think getting Caleb Williams fixes their team. I don't think it puts them in a better position than they're in right now. That's kind of what it comes down to. But we have 3 months to talk about that.
Well, you
So
got players speak like DJ Moore. He's already come out openly and said like he wants his QB to be Justin Fields, right? So, I mean, if he's saying that, like you don't build your team around one player's wants, okay? But it's pretty open when we all make fun of as fans routinely. It's a joke that Justin Fields is looked at as a good quarterback because he's more of a scrambling quarterback. To me, he's just Cam Newton. Like you know how I feel about Cam Newton. I think he won MVP off his legs, not off his arm. And I'm sick and tired of people saying that he was a good quarterback because he was a good legged quarterback. And I think that's all he had was 1 year of a good rocket arm. And then outside of that was nothing. I think that Justin Fields brings a little bit more as a passer than Cam Newton did. But realistically, like, bro, you're going to get 800 yards a year off your legs and 9 touchdowns. And that's why you're valuable, right?
yeah, like and I think where he's at now is where I think everybody was expecting Lamar Jackson. And unfortunately he wasn't Lamar Jackson. But that doesn't mean he can't be a very close version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was having this conversation today. Excuse me, it was about Brock Purdy being a game manager. And it's like I think people need to stop making that an insult. Because it's not. There's 5 quarterbacks in the NFL who are elite top quarterbacks. I think quarterback from 6 to 20, you can intertwine them and not too much is going to change on those teams. I do believe that. They're game managers in different ways. Is Brock Purdy going to win you a football game? No, but he's never going to lose you one. He's going to put you in that position every single year. I think there's only a few quarterbacks in the NFL that are actual game changers, and 2 of them can still lose you a game very fast. That's Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. As great as they are, they do a lot of bad things. Brock Purdy doesn't do bad things. He just doesn't do a lot of things great. He's a very good quarterback. And I think that's kind of how it goes. Like I said, from 6 to 20, I don't think there's a massive drop off.
Yeah, I feel it. It's you really in those 6 to 20 teams though. That's because and what you talk about, there's not going to be a big drop off. It's because they've had to build out depth around everybody else. Yes. Versus just having their elite talent up at the quarterback position. I was just reading. I quickly change topics here, but we're reading the name of the play call, which Kansas City always has fun names, right? I can't remember what the one that Tyreek Hill had 2 years ago or 3 years ago when he was the zig play, and they called it something fly or mosquito or something like that. But the winning play call last night was
corn dog.
Right. Sorry,
corn dog.
Now that's what I thought. I thought I heard him say 78 option corn dog, right? But no, the mic'd up actually just says it right here. It was called Trips Right Bunch F Shuttle Tom and Jerry Right Yellow. First and foremost, what a ridiculous amount of words for that play call. But secondly, I do love how it had the Tom and Jerry there because it is playing cat and mouse. I do totally get what you're saying there. That play was destined for one player and one player only. If he wasn't open, the ball was getting launched to the back of the end zone and they were going for another shot, right? So cool. It's just really fun how Andy Reid has got to sit around somewhere with these guys and just say, what's a fun name we can throw in today and make it make sense, right? There's obviously a reason. I've talked to you before about offensive play calls, and when we had some guys on our Rogers show, how do you teach the kids these names that because it was just a route tree for us before. But the Tom and Jerry, I mean, that kind of relates to what's going on there. I kind of see it.
It's a cat and mouse. You got to make that defender make a choice, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you literally get to just pick what option you want. Mm-hmm. And on that route, depending where you are, some call it a bang route, some call it a whip route. You can call it whatever you want. It is impossible to stop. If you can't get a hand on that guy the second he breaks, he's gone. And so a lot of teams use it as he's coming to throw a crack block, it looks like. So the linebacker steps down and then he's out. They actually brought him into the backfield, which is a different way of doing it as well. And it looked like, because everybody knows McCall Hardman's not going to be a lead blocker, but just bringing him into the box made that linebacker think.
Yeah.
And it was over at that point. And then he bounced and he whips it outside. And it's an easy, such a quarterback-friendly play, but it only works in those situations.
When you have the right guys out there to be the decoys too, right?
Yeah, like I said, that ball, everybody, the whole arena thought that ball was going to Travis Kelce.
Yeah. I thought it was either going Kelce, and if it wasn't, there was a one read. I did think it was one read, but I thought it was Kelce and Mahomes go. That was the read that I thought they may have had.
On the 4th and 2.
Yeah.
Play that literally, I actually don't believe it was a read option. I literally believe Patrick Mahomes made his own call.
Sure.
Like when Peyton Manning told everybody to hand off and he kept it himself.
Yeah.
It was the exact same thing. He knew right away that Bosa was going to crash. And he just, because like if you watch the whole line, every single person left.
Yeah. And they were just naked.
Yeah. And then the best part you see, I saw a still shot of Bosa chasing him, hands out like this, like, where's everybody else? Well, no one thought he was going that direction. Once again, like he's such a special talent. Like, and it's crazy that in our lifetime we saw this thing back to back. Like, there wasn't this when I was a child. Like, the next closest great thing was Joe Montana. He retired in the early 90s. And we had to wait 10, 15 years to see the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, this just kept on rolling.
Yeah. Now, speaking of kept on rolling, how much do you feel for a player like CMC who justifiably had a MVP of the season ripped out of his arms, because there's still some debate there on who the true MVP is of the season, right? And then in this game, really was the MVP until, again, Patrick Mahomes ripped it out of his arms again. How crappy is that for CMC to have that happen to him twice? 2 MVPs probably should have been handed to him, and unfortunately they don't, right? Now, the Patrick Mahomes one makes sense. The guy balled out 300 plus yards and definitely put the team on his back there at the end, 67 or 66 rushing yards or something like that, but just crazy.
Well, if CMC could lift his arms, I'd give him a hug, but his arms were black and blue. The amount of bruising that guy had at him, like, he went to the sideline and it was like from his wrist all the way up to his shoulder was just a solid bruise. So he'll be enjoying that ice bath today. But yeah, no, he had a rough go. He was definitely MVP. I still think Jawan Jennings was going to get it if they won.
Was going to get MVP, really? Eh? Wow.
Touchdown pass and
a few clutch receptions. Yeah.
Like he was their leading receiver.
Yeah.
And he threw a touchdown pass. How do you not give it to him? At one point, I was like, are one of these fucking kickers going to be the MVP?
The ones that set the records, yeah.
Because like that's all this game was for a while. And it's crazy. I think Jake Moody doesn't have a job next year.
Oh, wow. Come on. There's no way he doesn't have a job. Listen, if he doesn't have a job in San Francisco, he's got a job in the Chargers in LA. Like that, he's going to be with.
That guy missed a lot of field goals this year.
That is Jake the Money Man Moody. Mr. Harbaugh had coined him,
That's cool.
So he'll go there. Maybe he doesn't stay. Maybe he doesn't stay, but he'll go there.
No. He's going to be out of the league in no time. The one that got blocked is because it went off his ankle. It didn't go off his foot. So
it went off his ankle, the inside of his ankle,
yeah. But yeah, no, it's once again, we were spoiled at the end of the day.
We were. Great Super Bowl, great way to end the season, man. Now, did you see the logo for the next Super Bowl? I think I sent that into the chat, right? It looks like Nickelodeon drew it up for some reason, bro. Like they're taking this partnership to the next level.
No, I did not see it. Who's in it? Who's in the Super Bowl?
For the Super Bowl, it's the
logo.
Who's in it?
Who's in it? Who are the colors sayings in it?
Oh, it's like pink and lime green. Here, hold on. Let me see if I can find it here, and I'll put it up.
So Miami's in it.
That's got to be it, yeah.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the game. We've talked about some props. Let's talk about the thing that you did put in the chat today, which I said I didn't have to read because I already knew it. How much Tony Romo and Jim Nantz cannot work together.
Yeah, it's like even the biggest emphasis that the article that I put in there was on was regarding the game winning play. You know, Romo didn't know when to shut up, and I love Romo. I don't say love, I do enjoy Romo, and that to me, I saw it last night. To have it reiterated in an article the next day that I'm reading about it, it pointed it out even more. You didn't need to say the things that you should have let Nance have his moment. Line the play up and just stop talking. But then the play ends and he continues to just go without letting Nance have his moment. And then there was another mishap when he says, now, if you could just get 6 here, if you could just get 6, I'd go for it again. And what
Yeah.
do? They get 6. And he says, oh, I just don't know. I just don't know. He told Tony, they did exactly what you said they should do if you were to go for it again. Like this was 2 minutes apart from each other. You said this. This wasn't like a quarter away. You just said this. It just there was a lot of things that Romo just didn't know when to stop talking, unfortunately. And
Well,
it
it was
seemed like
hard to understand it for me because Patrick Mahomes' dick was so far down his throat because that's how much he thinks of him.
he,
It
he
was
is.
it got nauseating. And do you want to know who I feel worse for?
There's the logo, by the way.
Well, that's going on Nickelodeon for sure.
Right? That's what I mean.
The guy that came in for Trey Greenlaw, I hope his family.
Burks.
Yeah, I
Burks.
hope his family didn't watch the game because Tony Romo roasted this guy for 3 straight quarters.
For no reason, because the kid actually played really well, and he's a very big special teams contributor to that
Yeah,
team.
and he absolutely roasted him for no reason. And this guy got like he was replacing an All Pro.
Yeah,
With 0, like that guy didn't. I can tell you right now, he didn't get one first team rep this week.
probably not.
And they said he's a run stopping linebacker. And now you're asking him to cover arguably one of the greatest receiving tight ends of all time, who's a glorified receiver and who's been doing it for so long. Like he doesn't need his speed because he does everything else so well in his route running. And you're asking this poor kid to get and just roasted him and torched him for 3 quarters. And more or less said a Dre Greenlaw was playing, all these things wouldn't happen. And I was like, man, you're supposed to be unbiased. Like, break down the play, cool. But don't just start kicking someone the whole game.
Yeah. Biggest game of the year, too. Pinpoint him like that.
Yeah.
Brutal.
No, but I think that they it's funny because I was with my dad's watching the NFC Championship last week, and he brought them up, and he was like, "Yeah, there's a lot of rumors that one of them aren't going to be there next year."
One of the backers?
No, one of the commentators.
Oh, really?
And my dad thinks it's Nance. To be honest, he thinks that unfortunately Jim Nance is a little too slow. He's getting older up in age.
Yeah. Well, the article did point out that there was a lot of times that Jim could have taken back or had a better analytical thought process through it, his analysis, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't what it used to be. This is his sixth Super Bowl, I think he's called.
Yeah.
And the article talked about how everybody that he had as a partner for the Super Bowls were worse than they were in the regular season during that Super Bowl show. I'm not going to put that blame all on. People have their own issues they got to get through and their own what's the word I'm looking for, their own worries, I guess, that you're on a big stage, whatever. But that's kind of telling when everybody doesn't look nearly as good with you on the big stage. And then last night specifically, you couldn't tone down Tony fucking Romo so that you could get the first few words of every single play. Unfortunately, Tony's doing it for you, and Tony's not the play-by-play.
Yeah,
Tony's the color commentator, right?
And like it's like a lot of these guys are going to school and they're learning how to do these things and all this. He just got thrown into it, and everybody loved him at first. I've never liked him, but like, I think it's at the point now where people are almost sick of it.
To be very honest with you, I think that he needs to go and cover teams that he's not familiar with. This is as big. Anytime he's covered teams that he's not familiar with, that everybody has blasted him in the media saying that he doesn't prepare for these games, that he basically shows up the day before, gets handed a cheat sheet, and you can tell it during the game that if it's not the Cowboys and it's not the Chiefs and it's not the Packers, that the guy doesn't seem to know what he's talking about, and it's all off the cuff comments that he makes. If you force him into smaller market games, so I know that he's the big time earner, he's going to get better. Look what happened to Greg Olsen.
Yeah.
Greg Olsen was garbage last year, and I'm still not a huge fan of Greg Olsen, but he certainly got better covering every game he possibly could, whether they were good or bad.
Well, and like his jobs be the color, like just break down what happened. I don't need 85 things going on and why it happened and what it did. because the average fan doesn't need to hear that stuff.
Or the 3 times that he tried to entice Jim Nantz into singing a song. Right?
Yeah.
Viva Las Vegas. He was singing that one. There was the Rolling in the Deep on the way out to commercial break that he was doing. Like, if it didn't work the first time, don't try it 2 more times, bro. Get over it. Jim Nantz ain't singing back to you tonight.
No. And yeah, they just seem so out of sync. And to me, it took away from the product on the field.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because, like, when you're listening to a game, you are, and it's one of the reasons like why I like watching the game in silence, so I can hear all that stuff. And yeah, when I found out he was calling the game, I was like, man, I just can't do it. I think I messed our chat saying that this guy sucks.
That Romo sucks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's okay. I can say this. It's never going to work for the guy. So I'm never going to be calling a game with him. So I can say these things. It's not going to cost me a job down the road, you know?
Yeah.
I know. We're running out of time, though. Any last thoughts?
No, not about the game. I did want to point out to Liam that his team looks like they're dropping a new throwback jersey tomorrow, potentially. So that sounds fun. Mustard yellows are back in fashion, it looks like. Yeah.
No, that sounds horrible. I'm just picturing those color rush jerseys when they were just all yellow.
Basically what it is. Yeah, it's a little bit deeper yellow color than that. But a last bit I had when we brought up there at the beginning there about Mitch Trubisky getting mutually parted ways. I can't believe that they actually tried to put that out there into Twitter universe that they mutually parted ways. Pal, you were getting cut 3 weeks ago. He's done though, right? Like, this guy's not in the NFL again. He's going straight to the new United League, or he's going over to the CFL, right? This is it.
No, he'll have a job.
I just don't know where he would land. Maybe back in Buffalo.
You don't give away guys who have actual playing experience. That's what it comes down to.
I guess if Nathan Peterman can keep a job for 5 years post starting time, then maybe Mitchell can keep a career for a few years.
This is the guy that started a couple years, not just 1 year. He started a couple years, had some success, not lots, but had some success. If you have a young quarterback,
loose use of the word success there.
Yes. If you have a young quarterback, bringing a cheap backup's not the worst thing.
Oh, he'll be cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it, man. End of the season. Now we get into the grind of the combine and the off season and the draft and all that, which is what I've been looking forward to for 7.5 weeks now. So welcome to the club, chat.
Hey, well, I had my team was there a couple weeks ago. It's all right.
Yeah.
On the best, going to the combine. We don't worry about us. So we're not going to tear an Achilles tendon. We're good.
Yeah, we're not pulling Achilles. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe a hammy, but
I pulled up the stairs just making a pogo earlier.
Stop eating pogos is probably my answer to that.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, you have a great night, and everybody watching, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back in a week.